Happy Monday. Starting a new week with the Just Baseball Show. This is Monday, November 15th. Jack McMullen, Aram Layton. I'm just going to throw you a scenario right now. The Lions just tied the Steelers, so they're still winless. It looks like they're on the fast track to the number one overall pick. If they take Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon, they might say, you know what, Kayvon, play D tackle. Play inside. We really like what Michael Brockers is doing on the outside here. And on a completely unrelated note, I heard something about Bobby Witt a couple of days ago.
That's a good tie-in. Were you preparing that one all day?
I mean, I saw this and I said, what is this equivalent to? Because this is our favorite prospect in baseball, who we think is the best prospect in baseball. And you've got the Royals saying that they want him to play third base so you can keep Nicky Lopez at short.
Nicky Lopez.
That's okay. So here's the thing. I view Nicky Lopez and Michael Brockers very similarly. Michael Brockers,
really good players.
Yeah, he was a top 15 pick. Like, there is no offense to Nicky Lopez or Michael Brockers. But when the idea was floated that Taylor Walls was going to be the shortstop and Wander Franco was going to be the everyday third baseman, it was just like, fuck all the way off with
Yes.
Yes. There was no validity to that whatsoever, because you've got the crown jewel of minor league baseball in Wander Franco. If he's a shortstop, he's going to play shortstop. You adjust your team around who you think is going to be a superstar and a perennial all-star for your team, and your best shot at being the bell cow for a World Series team. You've got that in Bobby Witt if you're Kansas City. And you're trying to keep Nicky Lopez at short. Again, really good defensive shortstop.
Phenomenal.
Really good with the batting average stuff. Good hitter. But he's not Bobby Witt. He will never be Bobby Witt. Michael Brockers will never be Kayvon Thibodeau. And that's my vent to open the episode.
Well, I'm with you. And that's something that I think, we both were on the same page the second we saw that was mentioned. And like, this isn't A-Rod moving to third for Derek Jeter. That's not what this is. And again, Nicky Lopez is a really good shortstop. He hit 300 this past year. He also slugged 378. This is a guy that has to hit 300 to be valuable offensively.
Yeah.
Like, has to. He hit 300 and at a 106 WRC plus. His margin for error is razor thin. Bobby Witt Jr. had almost as many home runs taken from him last year as Nicky Lopez hit. He had one taken away. Lopez hit two, because Witt really should have had another home run, which would have given him 34, 35.
I think so.
Like, Bobby Witt has show-stopping ability. And let's not forget here, Bobby Witt could win a Gold Glove too. Like, this isn't, you know what I'm saying? This isn't Bobby Witt not being great defensively at shortstop. Like, this isn't like even like a Fernando Tatis Jr. situation. If Fernando Tatis Jr. had the ability to play third and be better there, and the Padres had a Gold Glove caliber shortstop, I still wouldn't want to do it, but I would even maybe argue that it's more justifiable there, because Tatis isn't really good at shortstop. And if the Padres don't feel like he can develop there, then like maybe that makes more sense. That's more of that A-Rod move, even though A-Rod was phenomenal at short. Like, Bobby Witt's a guy that could win Gold Gloves himself. So why are we delaying this development for your franchise player for Nicky Lopez, who you could actually sell high on trade and use that to kind of build up the rest of your squad? You still have Alberto Mondesi. You still have the super utility man, and that sells him short, in Whit Merrifield, who could play second if you need him to, could probably play third. Like, you got dudes that can play all over. You're in a fine situation. Why are we moving Bobby Witt to third base, where I know he'll be great, but let's develop one of the best potential shortstops in baseball if it all works out?
Yeah, and you can view it as plainly as, if you have an amazing shortstop, there are fewer amazing shortstops that can do everything really well than there are fewer serviceable shortstops than there are serviceable third basemen.
Yeah,
that's what I'll say. I think third is a deeper position than short. Short's a premium, and I get it. A lot of the top prospects, when they're coming up, play shortstop. That's why they're the top prospect.
Yeah,
you can get a 5-hitter so much easier at third or a corner infielder than you can as a middle infielder. And if you love Nicky Lopez this much, have him play second base. Like you said, super utility, maybe selling him short with Merrifield. I mean, put him at third, put him in right, put him in left. He can play anywhere on any given day. You've got Mondesi to kind of move around too. You can have chess pieces. Why make the top prospect in baseball a chess piece?
Yeah. Like let's develop this guy as the superstar that he could be.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that I want to see develop at shortstop. Watching Wander Franco play short was so fun this year because we saw him just develop before our eyes, right? When we saw him defensively, I think he booted the one ball. I don't care. When we saw him defensively in the playoffs, like he was so comfortable out there, right? Like he looked even better than I'd seen him in the minor leagues in AAA earlier that year. He was just so comfortable. And the arm plays, like this was something that I think gave him a lot of confidence moving into next year. Taylor Walls might be a little bit better defensively, but he's Taylor Walls. And I think it's an excellent comp because I think that Lopez is Taylor Walls who figured it out a little bit more offensively.
Yeah.
And that just means a ton of contact. Make Lopez the best defensive second baseman ever. I don't care. Just put Bobby Witt at shortstop. And I think we're on the same page on that one. What I do like though, and what this indirectly represents is that the Royals want to win now.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're willing to do this, they want to win now.
Yeah.
I just don't know if this is the right way of trying to win now. But I do like what the larger representation is, right? We need more we talk about this all the time, Jack. You've talked about this a lot. We want these teams going for it a bit more. This probably means they're going to go out and do some things. I think the Royals are going to be cautious spenders and make themselves competitive. I like what they're doing over there in Kansas City. They're trying. I do think they're trying, and I appreciate it.
Baseball's more fun for everybody. It's more fun for the front office. It's a hell of a lot more fun for the players and the coaching staff. It's exponentially more fun for the fans. And to be honest, it's more fun for the opponents when you are trying to win baseball games.
Yeah.
Like nobody has any fun interacting with the Baltimore Orioles in 2021. Like you've got more fun watching the Bowie Bay Sox and the Norfolk Tides than you do the Baltimore Orioles in 2021. Just because like they're not trying to win. But you've got guys that are trying to win down below that will hopefully in 2 years help you try to win in Baltimore. And that's when it'll be exciting. So the Royals are trying to be exciting, and we applaud them for that. One more point to draw a comparison to football. Again, just to wrap this up. Lamar Jackson's freshman year, it was his opening game. He came in, I want to say like early second quarter. It was one of those like Chick-fil-A kickoff type games. I think it was Louisville and Auburn in Atlanta or something. And my dad and I are watching on TV. My dad is a graduate of the University of Louisville. So, we're watching this kid, Lamar Jackson, come in and play as a freshman. And the announcing crew goes on this, tangent about how athletically gifted Lamar Jackson is. In hindsight, it's like, oh, no shit, right? But I mean, this is an 18-year-old kid from Pompano Beach, Florida.
He was like a 3-star too. I mean,
yeah.
We knew about him. I watched him play in high school, and I was like, this guy's like really smooth with it. But you've seen a lot of guys that can run with it that are smooth with it. So yeah, continue.
Exactly. So his first game at college, I want to say the analyst said, verbatim, he said, I was talking to Coach Petrino, Bobby Petrino, and he said that he could be an All-American at wide receiver. And my dad screams at the television, then why the hell isn't he playing wide receiver? You know why? Because he won a Heisman Trophy at quarterback, and he's an NFL MVP at quarterback. So could he be an All-American wide receiver? Hell yeah, he could. Could Bobby Witt be a Gold Glove third baseman? Hell yeah, he could. But you're putting a cap on him. Why put a cap on him when he can have the world as his oyster at short?
I'm with you. And there's an identity behind it too, right? Like he's going to be the main piece for that team at the captain of the infield, aside from the catcher. But there's just this thing about being a shortstop. And it's not like Bobby Witt's been playing third. Like let's put him where he's best and where he can really be that marketable star. And there's something about shortstops being more marketable than third baseman. It just is what it is. I mean, look at the game. Just is what it is. Yeah. Everybody wants to be a shortstop. And
everybody wants to be a shortstop.
just like everybody wants to play quarterback in their turkey bowl game because they're like, oh no, I can throw the rock. I almost played in high school or whatever. Yeah, that's always the thing. Like everybody wants to be that guy at the main position. But I want Bobby Witt to be that guy, and I want him to have that swagger, and I want him to try to, take the league over at shortstop right away. Might not happen. I mean, there's still some swing and miss concern. He might be slow out of the gate, but I want to see him at shortstop. And I'm hoping that, the Royals come to their senses on that. But there's a lot of prospects I think are going to be making their way up this year. And I'm really interested to see how teams are going to handle that. You look at Julio Rodriguez with the Mariners. Are they going to just bring him right up and put him right in the corner? I hope so. But that's also kind of a crowded outfield. But who gets displaced there? Are they going to stop keeping Kelenic in center, where I think he's way better in a corner, but they kept him in center? But Kyle Lewis has knee issues. Like there's so many teams that have these decisions that are tough. And then I look at the Royals. I'm like, this is an easy one, man. Just put him at short. You're good.
Yeah.
But it is tough sometimes with these prospects. You want to put them in a position to succeed, but you also don't want to temper their ceilings. With Bobby Witt, he's wherever you put him, he's positioned to succeed. But when I look at like Kelenic in center and some of those things, that's where it might be a different topic about putting guys in the right spot to be able to perform.
Yeah, but there's no question with Bobby Witt. And Bobby Witt, Kelnic's already there, but Bobby Witt is knocking on the door. Julio Rodriguez is knocking on the door. Whole bunch of guys that are not necessarily knocking on the door, but are approaching the front steps to your porch, are playing in Arizona right now. The Arizona Fall League, we just saw the Fall Stars game. I love that little play on words.
Fall
right
Stars,
there.
Great. Good stuff.
The Fall Star game. We saw Hunter Bishop go yard. We saw, a couple other guys perform. We saw some good mustaches. His Arizona State teammate, Spencer Torkelson, had a great stash. I know you have been adamantly following the Arizona Fall League. I have done an okay job, not as good a job as I was expecting to do, but that's probably more than 99% of baseball fans to begin with. Give me a couple of takeaways from the Arizona Fall League so far.
Yeah, what's funny is generally it's a really a mixed bag of guys that just were injured, didn't get enough reps, or guys that they just wanted to get more reps or working on something, whatever it is. That was the case this year, as always. But I felt like there was way more blue chip talent out there this year.
Totally.
There's always good talent, but there's like elite dudes out there. Your guy, Bobby Miller. I know you're a big Bobby Miller guy because you get to see him in the Cape, but he's a different dude, as you've said, since when you saw him in the Cape. And I mean, he was unbelievable. But then you had some of the guys like JJ Bleday, who's looking to make changes and does and unlocks it and now looks incredible in the Arizona Fall League. 4 of the hardest hit balls he's hit, 4 of the 5 hardest hit balls he's hit this year, dating back to opening day in AA, were in the Arizona Fall League. So in 20 games, he's hit 4 of the 5 hardest hit balls in the almost 200 games he played total. Like that's really exciting stuff. And that's what I like about the Arizona Fall League is it's just extra time to work on things. It's almost like the NBA Summer League, except you have all more high upside guys. I've loved what we've seen from some of these guys that have just really used it as a coming out party. I think for Bleday, we already knew who he was, but this was an opportunity for him to say, hey, I'm still that guy. Curtis Mead sets the record for Arizona Fall League hitting streak, a guy that we had higher on our top prospect list than anybody else. How about that kid with the Cubs? Nelson's swinging it.
Oh, Nelson
Absolutely
Velasquez.
Swinging it. Yeah, swinging it. And everybody that I've talked to has been super excited about that kid. Like, this is a really cool thing that baseball is going on, and I hope they do a good job of marketing it moving forward. I loved that they had the Fall Stars game on the MLB Network. I thought that was phenomenal to do that. I don't know if they did that in previous years, but I think there was a sneaky amount of people that tuned into that. I know a lot of our staff did, but that's not really a good gauge on the normal baseball fan. But
Weirdos.
I do think people were tuned into that. And this is something that I think is marketable, and they could do a good job of it. It's fun baseball out there in Arizona. We're talking about nice towns. So I think it's been fun.
This past Saturday was a hilariously, stupidly packed sports day. I mean, it was one of the craziest sports days in recent memory. For me, I'm not a Sunday guy. I'm really not a sit down and watch NFL football guy, but I am a Saturday guy. Oh my God, am I a Saturday guy?
You burn your Saturdays?
Oh yeah.
You burn your Saturdays on the couch?
Oh yeah.
I burned my Sunday, dude. I mean, other than recording this stuff, my ass doesn't move.
Yeah, no. See, I'm get up and get moving on Sundays. I'm get all my stuff done. I'm trying to avoid the Sunday scaries. Saturday, I commit to this is the beginning of the weekend. I'm going to enjoy. And this was my first Saturday off of the entire fall.
Wow.
So that is a perk of Maction there. We got the game on Tuesday and Wednesday. I've got my Saturdays free to watch everybody else. And I love it, right? I work in college football because I love college football. And this Saturday was awesome. It started before I went to bed on Friday night because it was an 11:30 Eastern tip-off between UCLA and Villanova at Pauley. Pauley was rocking for the first time in about 20 years, which was so cool to see. And you will quickly find out during the offseason that Aram and I and Peter are massive college basketball people, like humongous college basketball people.
And like, it's funny because Peter's a big college basketball fan. And you and I are so into it that Peter's like, I'm not that into it. Like, well, yeah, you are into it. It's just we're like weirdos about it. Like, you know your stuff about college basketball, but Jack and I are talking about, Syracuse's defense, which is super easy to talk about, 2-3 zone, nothing else. But we're talking about philosophical things in basketball for like 20 minutes on the phone and what's wrong with Syracuse, who actually looks really good in the second half against Drexel earlier today. But college basketball is fun.
They're hitting their threes.
They're hitting their three, but that's it. That's
you've got Villanova, UCLA. UCLA looks good. They look so fast. Villanova looks seasoned, but UCLA just goes quick. They got 1 and 2 right because Gonzaga on Saturday night was just so far and away.
I watched that whole game. My roommate's from went to University of Texas, and he's like, "We've got all these transfers. Like, we've got all these dudes. We're gonna win outright." I'm like, brother. No shot. Chet Holmgren scores 2 points, and they just absolutely pieced him. Drew Timmy's a god among men. Like that's great stuff. And I think college basketball has done a really good job of marketing their dudes. And now that these guys can actually make NIL deals, I'm really interested to see what college baseball looks like. Obviously, there's not going to be the Zion Williamsons and the Jack Leiters even, I think, though, can be comparisons to those relative to baseball, right? Like, I think Jack Leiter could be, if we had NIL deals this past year, Jack Leiter would have had some NIL deals on the table. He's a marketable dude. You look at his social media, he's got tons of followers. Like, college baseball is getting there a little bit. I don't know if it was a confirmation bias thing because we launched this company, but I felt like there was much more attention on college baseball this year, maybe than previous years. Is that just me? Am I nuts?
And no, I don't think you're nuts. I think that when the players are exciting, people tune in. Like, I remember, Dansby Swanson at Vandy. People tuned in to watch Dansby at Vandy, and people tuned in to watch Alex Bregman at LSU that year too.
Yeah.
I think that Enrique Bradfield can absolutely get a car dealership deal. Like, Colin Gillespie, I heard, was on a car dealership ad for like Buick GMC in the Philly area during that UCLA Villanova game. Like, that makes a lot of sense. And I think we're going to start seeing that in college baseball. We almost strayed so far from the point that I forgot how I was going to tie it back to baseball. But so it started with UCLA Villanova, and then we got a full day of college football with some college hoops sprinkled in. And then serving as my appetizer before Gonzaga in Texas was the Fall Stars game. I said, oh my God, it's so fun to have baseball sprinkled in amongst this stuff. And it was great to watch because I think you're right. It's never really guys that are this far along that are going to the Arizona Fall League. It's a lot of toys that still need to be fully developed. But I mean, Spencer Torkelson's out there. Like, he's going to be up in 2022.
Dude, Lars Nootbaar's out there. He was in the wild card game.
Yeah, he was good.
He was in the wild card game. Like, what is he doing out there?
I don't know.
It's just like extra reps.
Yeah.
I love it, though. And I think after the 2020 season, after the alternate training site and all these kind of new things that came out of it, I think teams kind of look at the Arizona Fall League a bit differently than they looked at it in the past, and really placing more priority on reps. There's some guys that were sent out there to kind of just struggle, and they're like, it's okay. Like, just work on things out there. You're good. Because I know certain players that were like, yeah, I'm going out there. I don't really care about the results. I want to work on things in an environment where games are happening and guys are trying to get me out. It's easy to work on things in a batting cage. It's a little bit different. I love it. And I'm hoping it's going to be that way moving forward, because you don't get to see Bobby Miller against Nick Gonzalez and Gabriel Moreno. And I mean, we're talking about a dozen of our top 30, 40 prospects. I think we're out there. I mean, that's awesome. And then an MLB guy just sprinkled in, Lars Nootbaar.
Man,
I was about to pinch it in the wild card game.
Dude, two guys that I want to hit on before we move on. I do want to hit on Bobby Miller because, I mean, this guy just shaking his hand and seeing the way he was built on the Cape after his freshman year at Louisville versus shaking his hand and just seeing him when he was with Great Lakes, which was the high A affiliate of the Dodgers this year when they were in Fort Wayne. Like, this guy's forearms are 3 times as big now. He has put on weight. You know, he was maybe touching 92 after his freshman year at Louisville, and he was exhausted. He went home early. And then his sophomore year, I turn it on. I'm like, this guy has the thickest thighs I've ever seen. He did not have those when he was in Brewster. He's a grinder. And if he keeps this work ethic, you know, it really does. And I'm not just saying this because he wears tight pants. It really feels like a Walker Buehler type work ethic. Because Buehler, when he was at Vandy, you were like, okay, stuff's there, but Carson Fulmer's better. Right? There was never really that argument that Walker Buehler was the top arm in that class. And now, moving forward, if I had to handpick a pitcher to be the ace of my staff, it's probably that guy because he works his ass off. And that's the type of work ethic from the outside in, it looks like Bobby Miller has. Yeah.
I see a lot of similarities there too. Similar stuff too. I mean, the way Bobby Miller can attack you with the slider now, and then the life on his fastball and the explosiveness with his lower half. The Dodgers probably saw a little bit of it too. There's a reason why I think they went after this guy when they did and gave him the bonus that they gave him. I'm a big fan of his. And again, it's awesome to be able to watch these guys now, get a little bit of a sprinkle of some more baseball in the meantime. And I hope they broadcast some more games. We were talking about that. I just think it's good for the game. You know, you got people that may not even be that interested in the minor leagues, but if it's on MLB Network, you know, and you're a baseball fan and you're between games, you're going to be like, you know what, let me go see, you know, whatever team I'm a fan of. They'll probably have a player or two in here. Let me see what the future looks like and let's watch some baseball. Like, when you don't have baseball at your disposal, that's the thing, is with the minor league season, you have the major league season going on. So most people don't care as much, which is very understandable. But now there's a lot of baseball fans out there that'd be like, oh, I'd love to just catch a game of quality baseball. You don't get that right now. And I think if they put a game on every week or so, I think people would tune in. Maybe that's a little bit of a skewed view because I'm a big baseball guy, but I don't think that there's any downside of it, especially if it's going to continue to have the level of talent we have now. I understand it when it's the guys like you talked about that were, 18-year-olds that didn't get reps, or, lower level prospects that aren't exciting. These guys are worth watching. Like, this is the futures game almost type of talent. And I think that they should showcase it. And I hope they do moving forward because I do think there's a market to be had with some of these minor league games. I just don't think that they've really been positioned well enough.
ESPN has nationally televised several G League games over the last couple of nights that I have tuned into. I like tuning into G League games because I see, somebody that I loved in college that's in the G League, right? And then you see the Ignite kids that, hey, one might go top 10 here. You tune in for the can't miss prospect, and you tune in for sentimental value like, hey, that was my guy, and now he might be looking for a two-way deal. There is a higher baseline level of talent in the Arizona Fall League than there is the NBA G League. So televise it nationally. And if you're getting eyeballs on the G League, you're going to get eyeballs on the Arizona Fall League.
I 150% agree.
One more guy I want to touch on quickly before we get to our Hall of Fame thoughts, because we are quickly approaching a ballot. We've got a ballot coming in 7 days. That's when the ballot's finalized. But one more guy that I do want to hit on quickly, just because the team that owns his rights is so volatile within our fan base. Jeter Downs had a heck of a start to the Arizona Fall League. And Jeter Downs feels like the piece that can tie a bow on the Mookie deal. To be honest, I don't really care about Connor Wong's development right now. Like Verdugo looks good. Mookie Betts is Mookie Betts. If Jeter Downs turns out for Boston, and if he can find his way onto the roster and be competitive on the roster, I think you view that as like even going forward.
Relative to the situation,
Relative.
I think so, right? Like you weren't going to be able to maximize the return when teams know that you're not going to keep the dude, right? I mean, like look at Manny Machado, that trade. They got something though, and like that, you got to get what you can get. And I thought that given the circumstances, the Red Sox did well. I mean, look where they're at. Verdugo is a big piece for them. We've seen what they've been able to do with Verdugo, turning him into one of their main pieces. I don't know what's going to happen with Wong, but I think Downs definitely makes the deal more palatable, and that's a guy that I think they were as excited about as Verdugo, because at the time it's a 2020 guy and a guy that seemed like he had a high floor. His approach has kind of gone to the wayside, but I'm really excited to see how he comes back out. Yes, his average has dipped, but it's such a small sample size. He's hit 5 homers. He's walking a ton. I think he's walking as much as he struck out in the Arizona Fall League. So there's some encouraging signs. It would be nice for the deal to be a little bit more palatable if he becomes a big league piece for them. I think you're totally right. You got 2 starters out of it, and then maybe a depth piece in Connor Wong. It's probably worth, relative to what you probably would have got elsewhere. So that is a big name to watch. I agree moving forward.
We're going to chronicle our Hall of Fame stream of consciousness often. And all 3 of us are going to fill out a ballot at some point, and we're going to explain our ballot. But the ballot comes out a week from today. I do believe it's on Monday, November 22nd. And this ballot totally feels like the end of the road for the steroid conversation. You've got Bonds and Clemens on their 10th year. If I'm not mistaken, you've got Sosa on here as well in his 10th year. You've got Schilling in his 10th year. Schilling's a totally different conversation. But then you've got A-Rod and Poppy making their first appearance on the ballot. This is the end of the road for who I believe to be the greatest hitter to ever play this sport and one of the greatest pitchers to ever play this sport, and the beginning of a guy that was just a couple home runs shy of 700.
Yep.
And then Poppy, who's Poppy. I mean, without getting into the individuals, where do you stand on Bonds and Clemens and A-Rod and Poppy? Where do you stand on what they did?
It's really tough because I think every situation's a little bit different, but at the same time, where do we draw the line? And that's like the age old conversation. Like Barry Bonds perjured himself. Big Poppy never caught a suspension. And yes, it's been, pretty much verified as much as possible that, his name has come up in many reports. And I don't think that there's too much debate as to whether David Ortiz took steroids or not. I think that's pretty clear as to what the perception is there, at least. But where do we draw that line, right? If we're not letting the best hitter in Major League history and maybe the best pitcher, if not very close to it, I mean, we're talking about guys that produced 130, 160 WAR between Clemens and Bonds each, and they're not going to get in. Like, how can you justify putting somebody even with like pretty solid ties in a David Ortiz or even some of the other players that we've seen, like Manny Ramirez, not even sniffing 30%, Sammy Sosa, not even at 20%. I think it's got to be black and white. And yeah. I think that overall they've shown that it's black and white, and that these guys aren't getting in. Who's changing their mind after 9 years and saying, he sweated out enough, I'll put him in now? Like, that's not what this is about. That's not what a Hall of Fame vote is about. It's like, I'm going to make him sweat it out 9 years, and then I'm going to vote him in the 10th year. Each year, you're basing your ballot on who you think should be in the Hall of Fame. That shouldn't change after 9-10 years. I've always thought that was bizarre. I'm not a fan of the idea of just totally changing this. I know that a lot of people think Barry Bonds should be in. I personally think that Bonds should be in. Like if I could do it over, I would do it. But I think the precedent's been set, and I would ride with the larger precedent, almost like it's law. I think it's just been set. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I already think we've had players fall off the ballot that could have been considered, right? Like the Rafael Palmeiros of the world are never going to get in.
Yeah.
His numbers are up there with some of the top players of all time. Like you're not even thinking twice about it with Palmeiro, but he's done. He's out. So where are we drawing this line? I feel like it's so arbitrary, and I don't love that because it's already arbitrary enough as it is.
Yeah. So Dan Bernstein is a sports talk radio host in Chicago. He hosts Bernstein and Rahimi middays on 670 The Score. Long time host in Chicago. An incredibly smart mind. One of the people that I see most eye to eye with pretty much on everything sports. A lot of people don't like him because he is very mean to callers and things like that. He just, does present himself to be very smart, but he is very smart. And I love his baseline take on what the Hall of Fame is. And I kind of took it and ran with it with my perspective. What he has simply said about the Hall of Fame is the Hall of Fame is a museum, right? That's what it is. What do museums do? They chronicle the history of something. So I started thinking about it in the sense of 7th grade social studies class. You're learning about World War II. World War II sucked. Millions of people died, but we still learn about it because it happened. I don't want to compare the steroid era to World War II or World War I or anything bad, because obviously those two are not the same thing. But when we look at museums, the bad is chronicled in there because it was an era of history. The steroid era was an era of baseball. Barry Bonds has hit the most home runs in Major League Baseball history. Shouldn't you commemorate that? Pete Rose has more hits than anybody in baseball history. Shouldn't you commemorate that? I understand the problem with saying they are a Hall of Famer because fame is a word that implies that you are respected and you are great. And I think those two are great. Are they respected in the sport? That's the big question there. And even if the answer is no, there were a lot of people that I read about in 7th grade social studies that were not respected by really anybody.
So does that mean that you earn that designation of immortality though, right? Like, you could just put an exhibition, right? Here's the steroid era. Go check it out over here on Hall 3 on level 4, right? Like, couldn't that just be it? We're putting him adjacent to, or at least on the same wall as Jackie Robinson.
I just think they deserve to be in that big room with all that natural light, and there needs to be this plaque there.
You don't think that they should have artificial light?
I love that room.
You know what I'm saying? The natural light should be for the natural players, artificial light for the PED users.
Yeah, that'd be good. Maybe like
a little
like
asterisk.
Right, like a chia pet lamp right there.
Yeah. Do they get a different designation now? Or are we just making this thing? Yes, I get it's a museum, but it's also the highest baseball honor.
It is.
And are we diminishing the honor of other players? Here's the other thing too, though. There's already guys elected in there that have most likely taken steroids, right? That are already in the Hall of Fame. I would bet, if gun to my head, you said, if you get this answer wrong, I'm pulling the trigger. Is there somebody in the Hall of Fame presently that took performance enhancing drugs?
Absolutely.
Saying yes in half a second, bro. Like it's not that difficult of a question.
Absolutely.
So knowing that, it's like, okay, it's just because we don't know about it, or if we know about it, then it's a problem. It's tough. Like a guy comes out later, like let's say I'm not going to give a specific name because then it's a guy that probably did it. Let's say player X comes out and says, it comes out that, oh yeah, this guy actually took PEDs. It's verified now. What are we going to remove him from the wall? What do you do?
Right.
So it's a really sticky situation.
Yeah. I mean, are we kind of dovetailing off of you using the word sticky? Like, are we going to have this same conversation if Garrett Cole continues this run of dominance here? And it's like, oh, but he used spider tack and he was called out. And that was a problem here. Like, Probably not. Steroids are a unique beast. I think I said this honestly on episode 1, just because like I needed you guys to understand where I was at. I think baseball is an entertainment business. Sports are an entertainment business. Only entertainers get paid this much money to do something this fun. Baseball is full of entertainers. If sticking a needle in your ass to hit a ball 500 feet is going to make the product a lot more entertaining, do it. If it's going to make you however many millions of dollars, do it. You hear a lot of stories of these guys juicing in the minor leagues to get up to the major leagues. And obviously, not going to use a name here because that ties you to somebody, but like there are many stories that I've heard of guys that were juicing in the minor leagues to get up to the major leagues. Guess what? Those guys in the minors don't make jack shit.
Yeah.
So if they got to juice, if they have to juice to get there and sign the $70 million deal, even if they fine them, they're still about $50 million richer, and they're giving that to their families and their grandkids and their great grandkids. Like, it is a life-altering thing to make it in this sport. Do what you got to do.
It's understandable, but is it also comparable to just like selling your soul to the devil? Like, you did it. It's okay. I understand it. You got your money, and that's what you get. You got your money. Very good. You know, you cashed out. No one can take Barry Bonds' career earnings away. Hell, Melky Cabrera cashed out. Dude cashed out. He wouldn't change it. I doubt it. I'm not going to speak for him. I doubt he changes it. You know, so it is really tough. The way I look at it is like these guys earn accolades that won't get taken away from them. They've earned notoriety, money, all of those things. Those will never be taken away from them. Hell, they're in the record books still. In the Hall of Fame, they're still in the record books. There's no asterisk. What we're drawing the line at is the highest honor of baseball from all standpoints. And yeah, I'm sure there's some pieces of shit dudes that are in there. I mean, Ty Cobb's in the Hall of Fame. Sure. But that is what it's like. I mean, this is why Kurt Schilling's not in there. Kurt Schilling hasn't been tied to PEDs. So a lot of other reasons why he's not in there. Yeah. Also, some of the talk about World War II. He likes to collect some things from then.
Yes, he does. The bad side.
The wrong team too. But you know, that to me is like, all right, it's kind of a little bit of the Hall of Morality too, to a degree, right? Like, it's very abstract. And I just think that the precedent is set that those guys don't get in. And I just hope that they stick to it then. Like you said it, this is the point. If Barry Bonds doesn't get in, then see Alex Rodriguez, you're not getting in either, bro.
Yeah.
Like, no way. And I think that's where to make
that decision.
So if Bonds gets in, and this is what I want to wrap it up on. Like, this is my final thoughts.
Yeah.
If somehow Bonds pulls this miracle off and everybody changes their mind and they're like, oh yeah, we just wanted him to sweat it out. If Bonds and a couple of those other guys get in, then hell, A-Rod's got to get in too. And I know some people missed the boat. I know Palmeiro missed the boat and some of those other guys, unfortunate. But once that wall kind of breaks and the water comes flying out, like, you got to just let it keep running. At that point, then you're putting all the roids guys in. And you might have to go executive order, whatever they call it, with the you can like pick one guy a year and bring him in. You might as well start just throwing all the other old roid users in there too. Like, at that point, if you're getting Bonds in, like, why not go back and executive order Palmeiro back? I forget what they call it with like the actual process of where you can vote in a guy that's off the ballot.
Is it the senior vote? They did that with
senior vote or something. I just call it executive order.
Yeah.
But like, at that point, you might as well just senior vote these other dudes back in one at a time. Like, if we're going to do it all the way. That's just my thing. It's like, there shouldn't be like a steroid. Like, how much did he cheat versus how good he was sliding scale?
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, he got caught twice, but he hit 762 jacks. So it's okay. Oh, he only got caught once and he said sorry a bunch of times. So his 500 home runs will play. Like, that's where like Manny got caught 3 times. Like, he's out. Like, that's where I'm like, it shouldn't be a sliding scale. Let's make it cut and dry. But that's my final thoughts.
Isn't that another baseball analogy? 3 strikes, you're out.
I think I've heard that one.
One final thought for me to wrap up. And this is not a talent related whatsoever, but this call did not make the cut for our show intro, but it is my favorite call of all time. It's Dwayne Kuiper's call of Barry Bonds' 756th home run. It is amazing. It's the 756. Bond stands alone. I mean, it is the best call in sports history. It's that one that just, no matter how many times I listen to it, sends shivers down my spine and makes me say, damn, this is the coolest sport in the world.
And we still barely see that clip.
Still barely see
That's
that.
a big problem for baseball.
Massive
when your all-time
problem.
hits leader and your all-time home run leader are never shown. And like, how often have we seen 756? I've seen that stupid Michael Jordan buzzer beater where he hangs up in the air in the Gatorade commercial and then fist bumps like crazy. I've seen that play 1,000 times. 756 is way cooler. It's not even close.
I've seen Doug Flutie's bullshit a million times.
Oh God, how many times? Like, yes, that 756 call should be what I hear, and that's part of the problem. And that's why, if we're gonna let these guys in, I'm okay with it, because maybe that'll be the starting of like getting these guys more involved, other than Pete Rose just perpetually signing autographs in Vegas. Like, that's really depressing. At least Bonds was at the game in San Fran during the playoffs. It was nice to see him there. He got the standing O. I know Bonds is not the nicest dude in the world, but I'd like to see some of the game's best players involved more. We saw Griffey involved at All-Star Weekend. Like, more of that, please. And if it takes electing these guys into the Hall of Fame to do it, screw it, I'm in. And that's what.
And listen, we always view Ruth and Mays and Aaron and, you know, Cobb and all these guys with such this high platform. We think they are gods. We've got a couple of living gods right now with Bonds, Griffey, Mo, Jeter. I mean, we've got some living gods, some deities right now, and we got to respect them and we got to pay our dues there. He's Aram. I'm Jack. Any link you need, including our personal social media handles, is in the episode description. You're close to the mic. What you got to say?
I love how you just know we've got hoodies now.
Oh, yeah, we do have hoodies.
It's cold out and we've got hoodies and they look fresh. Our guy Kendall killed it. And I can't wait for mine to get in. And you can place your orders for some nice hoodies. Lots of options.
I got to place mine. Do we have a promo code again? Fade Jack or no?
No Fade Jack for the hoodies right now, but we'll see. We'll see how they sell. And we also have some not gambling advice shirts.
Damn. True. Speaking of not gambling advice, you want to do the thank you, everybody?
Thank you, everybody.